you have got to take stock of what you can afford. And I promise you, most of the stuff that you're buying, you shouldn't be affording unless that stuff is getting purchased with returns from your passive income investments. Okay, that money you can spend as frivolous as you want. But if you're taking your active earned income from your job after tax money and buying stuff with it, that's a problem. You should be investing that.
All right, welcome back to How to Invest in Commercial Real Estate. Before we get into today's topic, I want to talk about the deal we launched last week. So this was a multi-tenant retail deal in Owasso, and we launched it Friday, Friday early afternoon.
Yeah, maybe noon, maybe 1.
Friday evening, it's filled. I mean, just immediately sells out. Saturday, it's 200% full, and I'm checking the commitments the next Monday morning, and we ended up 221% committed. We didn't open the portal. We didn't do anything. We made a PDF and put the important deal points in there.
This was pre-launch on the portal and overfunded 200%. What does that tell us, guys? We got to either find bigger deals to pitch,
more deals,
or we got to find more deals, and more deals are not easy to find. Because we're going to have some unhappy investors on this deal because we're not going to be able to allow everybody in, especially not at their commitment level.
Yeah, and to Brian's point, we also have the sale of Plaza West going through, right? So we're going to be distributing another almost $2 million on that to our investors at the end of August.
Yeah, one lump sum payment there.
The end of the third quarter is coming up. Before you know it, that's going to be here. We're going to send another $1 million to the investors. So that's
between the two companies.
And we're $1 million oversubscribed now. So
bunch of money out there.
Just us, Criterion, Precision sending out a ton of money, but there's just money sitting on the sidelines, and it shows me personally that there's interest out there, that people want to get involved despite what the market's doing, maybe especially because of what the market's doing. People want to get their money in something real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got to figure that out. And it may be that we kind of start doing what some of the bigger funds are doing, is they get higher quality deals, because there's a lot more of those out there that generate slightly lower returns.
Right.
Because right now we're trying to find these, maybe slightly more speculative, but really a lot higher returns. Yeah. And we're sifting through a lot of those deals because there is inherent risk with higher return, and we're trying to cherry pick those 1 out of 100. And so we're not producing enough of them to keep up with demand. So we may have to shift that. We could still do that 1 in 100 higher yield deal. But we may have to start, changing our focus a little bit to deliver enough to get everybody's money invested.
Yeah, it'll definitely be super interesting. But to dive into today's topic, I think a really important key, one of the first questions, hey, you do commercial real estate. Oh, man, I'd love to get involved. At the end of the day, you kind of need some sort of money, right? Whether it's your money, somebody else's money, you need to be networked into some sort of money somewhere. And for most people, that's the hardest part, is coming up with that seed money, coming up with that first $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 to say, man, I've saved this. I've planned for this. The time is right, and I'm executing it into real estate.
Yeah, even just to start paying for education, like a seminar, could be $2,000.
Yeah.
Flying to look at a property, driving around. There's expense involved in getting in the game, buying books and courses. And so, we're trying to come up with this idea that why doesn't anyone have any money? And everybody that's listening is going to think, well, I don't make that much. But here's the thought that came to me that I think is interesting, is that everybody lives paycheck to paycheck, but everybody makes different amounts of money. Yeah. Think about that. How is that possible? How is it possible that a guy making $30,000 a year lives paycheck to paycheck, can't save? A girl making $50,000 a year lives paycheck to paycheck.
Only men make money.
Yeah, sorry. That's not what I mean. Okay, someone making $75,000 a year, still paycheck to paycheck. It's not even until you get to over 100,000 that people start to have some excess savings. And I'm trying to,
and it's because they're pretty much boring people. They stop wanting to take vacations. At 100,000, you're just like, well, I drive a nice car, I live in a nice house, I send my kids to private school, and I go on one vacation a year. What else do you need in life?
Yeah, that's right. Like their income gets so high that it's inevitable they're going to have excess.
Yeah. Right.
But then I'm trying to think, so why is it that everybody is allowing their budget to equal their income? And we want to explore that today. We've mentioned it in a couple other podcasts.
It's because everybody wants the nicest stuff. I'm telling you.
Well, for sure that.
They get a raise. Oh, I'm going to get a nicer car. They get enough of a raise and save enough money. Oh, I'm going to get a nicer house.
Yeah.
So
there's a couple points to today's podcast. Yeah.
I did not. I drive a Honda. Okay. I drive a 2017 Honda Accord.
Well, tell us how much you paid for your house. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I did buy a new house, but it was well freaking deserved, Brian.
Yeah, it was about time for you. Well, so number one is the stuff. That's
stuff.
That's the number one thing. Is people look around at people that are making about what they're making or in the same social circle, and they bought a Navigator, they bought an Escalade, they bought a car. Well, I need that, right? Why can't I do that? The dealership's going to let me trade in my beater, and they're going to give me a low interest rate on something new. I'm sorry, but you're losing on that transaction. If you're listening, you're losing, right? They're making money or they wouldn't do it. You need the new $1,000 iPhone. I'm sorry, you don't. Now, I broke down and got a new iPhone for the first time in a while.
But it's every year.
A lot of people are getting the upgrade. And for me, I was frugal for 2 decades before I started to finally allow some of the money I've accumulated to, give me the freedom to purchase some of these things.
Yes, your gorgeous watch and your stunning wardrobe
pretty simple.
Constantly.
Still, I'm pretty simple. But and I've personally never purchased a new car. My wife, we got her one finally a few years ago, but I've never had a new one. But I think, so that's something that we can encourage people to do, is really examine what is necessary. And I don't necessarily want you to do the Dave Ramsey, sell everything in a garage sale. But most people,
has he actually said that?
Well, I mean, it's pretty intense. And it's not bad because most of the people that are coming to him aren't trying to save. They're buried in debt. Completely buried in debt. But he does have a couple of good principles. Consider going and getting your mortgage. Most people are, my mortgage payment can equal 40% of my take-home pay on a 30-year AM. And Dave Ramsey was one of the first people that said, hey, that's ludicrous. You need a mortgage that's on a 15-year AM, and that can equal no more than, I think, 25% of your take-home pay. Now we're talking. Okay, but nobody wants to do that because the house is what people see, and we're trying to impress everyone we don't care about. And so you have got to take stock of what you can afford. And I promise you, most of the stuff that you're buying, you shouldn't be affording unless that stuff is getting purchased with returns from your passive income investments. Okay, that money you can spend as frivolous as you want. But if you're taking your active earned income from your job after tax money and buying stuff with it, that's a problem. You should be investing that. And so the other problem, as far as the spending goes, is that people don't appreciate what that money can do if it's compounded.
Right. When you spend it, it's gone.
You spend it, it's gone. If you borrow against an asset, now you're paying interest on that, so you're even losing.
Yep.
But if you can convince yourself that every dollar today can turn into $2, $3 in compounding, and it can be working for you, then you almost can't let it go.
Well, because you're thinking of the future cost of that. You're saying, hey, I'm not only spending $10,000 on this or, $1,000 on this stupid item, but that $1,000 could be worth $10,000 in 5 years
or 100,000
or whatever
down the road. And so if you see money as that valuable, you'll start to invest it instead of spend it. So that's a big point. But one of the other things that we wanted to go over today, we're just going to hit it high level, is the problem people have with budgeting. Going back to the idea that everybody can make different amounts of money and yet still nobody has any savings, or their budget always creeps up to their lifestyle. And I think it's a fundamental problem with how people approach a budget. And so let's talk about that. Here's what I see is that people think real simply about their monthly expenses. And then they add up all their monthly expenses that they know they pay every month. And then they put in 10% for savings. And they call it a budget.
I think they actually skip a few items though, right? I've had that conversation with my kids because now they're all making jobs. What they don't realize are monthly costs for car insurance, all these things that I paid for when they were growing up. And then they don't really realize, let's see. Oh, really? This car's going to need new tires in 2 years? And, it's going to need, a whole new brake job or whatever. And
I remember the first time I got a tag on a car.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember calling my dad explicitly, like, Dad, what the hell is going on? The tag office
is
this is wrong.
Insurance. I had an accident. I had to pay the deductible, things that they don't think that are going to come up. I remember my daughter specifically saying when she was about 23 or 24, she said, I hate being an adult. because all these expenses came in that she had no clue I was paying for.
Right. And so that's what people do is they just check off the boxes of things that only happen every month. And then they build in a miscellaneous budget.
Yeah, 10%.
10% or 15% or whatever. And yeah.
Seriously.
And
I've seen
and then at the end of the year, no one has any money. And they're like, well, what happened, man? And then they give themselves an excuse. They say, oh, well, this year, the reason I don't have any money at the end of the year is, well, we had that medical expense, you know, so-and-so had broke their leg or, you know, I had to go to the doctor or I needed a new set of tires.
I think it's an outlier. Though.
Yeah, that's an outlier and I'm going to be fine. Next year it'll be different.
Tires today. I got new tires today. Guess how much a set of new tires is?
$1,200. $1,200.
I told Brian before the show. It's $1,200, right?
You got ripped off. You should have got them online.
You don't think about the fact in your budget to put $100 a month for tires. Nobody does that. And you only need tires every 5 years. So really it's like $20 a month.
But this is a perfect example. Yes, he could have got them for $700. He's going on a trip tomorrow. He doesn't have time. He had to go buy them. But that's what happens, right?
So I'm going to give this a name, and maybe we'll change it because I just am coming up with this on the fly. But monthly cost averaging. We have to get people to consider the concept of putting all future expenses into the monthly budget. And the only way to do that is to take your $1,200 that you're going to do every 4 years, and you divide 1,200 by 48 months. Yeah. And whatever that amount is, you put that in your monthly budget.
Right.
The car tag and license registration fee, that's a $800 a one year expense. Divide that by 12. What is that? $72?
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Well, but you also think about insurance goes up every year, right? You can never, your car value goes down, but your car insurance goes up. Well, you got a budget for that. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff.
And we could go through that list. So people that are listening, think about your budget and think about what's not in there.
Think about a budget in a larger frame of time. You know, I think it would be easier if you try to sit down and say, how much?
Just 1 year.
Yeah. What do I spend in a year?
Well,
what do I spend in 3?
Definitely don't do it on a month.
5?
Yeah, a month is a disastrous way to build a budget. 10 years would be decent.
Yeah.
And you can even build in 3% a year raise to your income.
Yeah, sure.
But in 10 years, you're going to have new cars. You're going to have your vacations. Clothes are a huge one. People, they don't put in clothes whenever they need a new pair of shoes or shirt or pants or a suit. They just buy it. And, maybe they put it on credit card, but you have to average in what is my yearly or 10-year budget on clothes going to be? And how do I build that into my monthly budget? What you'll find is that you're broke. You don't have enough money, and you have seriously got to downsize your spending in order to build up cash reserves to even start to get into the investing game. So if you're 40 years old, I'm 43. If you're 40 years old and you don't have a bunch of money in the bank, this is why right here. You have not budgeted appropriately, and it's not a knock on you. You weren't taught how to do it. If you're 50 years old and you don't have a bunch of money ready to invest, right? It's because you didn't budget appropriately. You've made enough money in your lifetime from the time you started working to 50. You've made enough money to be in the investing game.
Yeah. Everyone. I mean, I think if you work at McDonald's for 30, 40 years, you make $1 million, make a minimum wage.
Right, but I mean, all of that money is going to just pay for rent and stuff like that. I mean, that is really an extreme. But yeah,
people make more money than they think, and like you said, we don't even use money anymore. So we're so desensitized to money. You're just swiping this piece of plastic that it lets you spend more than you have every single time. You have multiple of those, so it's just it's a behavior that's been ingrained to us. I mean, when you look on social media, most people in commercial, like if you look up Grant Cardone, I mean, you're going to see his million G-Wagons and planes and watches. So much of social media is that way. It's just this keeping up with the Joneses crap. But at the end of the day, if you need to come up with $5,000 or $10,000, I think what we're trying to say is you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
You can do it. You just have to knuckle down and be purposeful about the fact that I'm not going to Starbucks today. I'm not buying a bunch of stupid shit this month. Yeah, I'm not going on vacation for the next 3 years.
You do. It is such a mindset. You just have to go for that delayed gratification, because if you, a lot of people are going to say, oh, that guy got a new car. I sure wish I could have one. But if your mindset is, okay, well, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm going to have a whole lot more money than this person is, and I'm going to buy new cars.
That was my whole philosophy.
Yeah. I'm going to have more money.
Well, that I was working at a job with a bunch of people that made decent money. and I saw what they were spending, and I knew what I was saving and what I was investing, what I was building. I was building a tidal wave that was going to drown all of that.
Oh, I love that.
Because they literally were just keeping up with the Joneses, and I was trying to build an empire on the side, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I think it's really funny, Victor Whitmore, your business partner at Precision. So he drove the crappiest car I've ever seen. And I remember there at the end, the Xterra. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Dude, he drove that Xterra until it broke down. He drove it a year after the AC went out, and then he gave it to a family member. It was a nasty car.
But he was committed to the dream, and he was committed to building that tidal wave.
Yeah, and guess what he drives now, guys? Guess what he drives? A Tesla. Because he wants to.
I'm the guy guessing all the right answers. Don't just shout it out. Give me a chance.
It's the idea, right, that he, for the lack of a better word, he ate shit in the car for a long period of time saying, man, I don't know what I'm going to get, but I'm going to get something nice, and it's going to be right around the corner. And when he got it, he didn't think twice about it.
And now he can buy any car he wants.
Yeah. Sure.
What's interesting, 90 days ago, remember when gas prices were really high? Part of being an astute investor would have been forecasting some level of risk in a fluctuating commodity like gasoline. Was gasoline never going to go up? Did you plan to have more money in your gasoline budget the following year than you did the previous year? No. Everybody was complaining. The news would interview these people, and the new gas prices, they really hurt. And I'm thinking, how many mocha lattes at $4?
Yeah.
Not a gallon.
Yeah.
Not $4 a gallon, $4 for 12 ounces.
Yeah.
Right. Think about that. And so I agree. I feel bad that they were being pinched by gas prices, but it's just the old adage that those that prepare are the ones that win when it comes to money. And if you're out there thinking that nothing's ever going to change, no pricing's ever going to go up, you're just going to, and nothing bad's going to happen, and no one-offs are going to be there this year, you're always going to find yourself chasing the ball down the hill, and you're never going to catch it. And so hopefully we can encourage you guys. You got to revamp your budget no matter what income level you're in. If you're making 30, if you're making 100, you have to sit down and revamp your budget and set some goals and think about, in 10 years time, what are every single expense I could come across, every negative that could happen, divide it by, the amount of times it happens in 10 years, and put that monthly amount in your monthly budget. And you'll find that you don't have any money at the end of the month, and you have to drastically change how much you spend on your car, your houses, your vacations, and your going out to eat. Yeah, I was going to say food, clothes bill, all of that. Yep. And once you do that and you readjust your life plan, now you're going to see yourself, when those one-offs don't happen, you're going to end up at the end of the year with $10,000 extra dollars. Yeah. Maybe $15,000 extra dollars. Then you get that invested, and that makes a return the next year, and that the next year you have even more at the end of the year, and you start to build. And the tidal wave, guys, it builds small, right? It builds incrementally. And if any of you have taken math, it's exponential growth that you're looking for. But if you look at the graph, the exponential graph doesn't even look like it's moving. And then the later years, it just skyrockets through the roof. And you've got to give it enough time to get it moving upwards like that, and it'll change your life.
Yeah.
I think it's such a good point. But when you hang around wealthier people, and everyone should always try to aspire to hang around somebody wealthier than they are,
right.
Because you're going to pick something up, words of wisdom, a way to live life, a little life hack, whatever. But you'll notice that these people are probably cheaper than you, more frugal. They pay attention to the money more. And it's so easy to say, well, that's why they have money. But people don't actually stop and think that. And it's not like the pattern of behavior changes. It's not like people knuckle down their whole life. They're not big spenders. And then all of a sudden they wake up one day and they're, so rich. And then they just start spending all the money. I mean, they just buy a yacht. They go on 50 vacations. They buy their mom a house. That doesn't happen, right? You rarely see a difference. They may get a new car. They may get a nicer house. I mean, you may barely notice it, but the wealthiest people in my life are the most frugal people in my life. And I'm starting to appreciate that it's a pattern of behavior. They'll just always live on that percentage of what they make. It's just always substantially less than what they're actually making.
It'd be interesting if we could all see what everybody makes and what everybody's net worth is. So then when someone buys that new car, we can see, hey, is that new car 10% of their net worth or 0.1% of their net worth?
Yeah. So this is a good social media app. We'll put a like and dislike button on there. Somebody buys a car and it's like, oh, idiot, share. Look at this idiot.
But we don't know that. And so we think everybody can afford it. And whether they can or they can't, we don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've covered it pretty well. Take time, take out your budget, redo the whole thing, and start getting a nest egg together where you can begin your real estate investment career. Because so many people come to us and say, hey, we don't have any money. We have very little money. And we want to help you change that, but it's got to start with you. Yep. So
I would also say make sure to go to the website and join the investor list, right? We launched a deal last week on the Owasso deal. We talked about it the week before, and it was out there for a few hours. We figured it would fill up fast. We gave everyone a warning. We're like, hey, we're opening the portal Monday. Be ready. And they just responded back. They're like, oh man, save me 200,000, save me 150, save me 100,000. And then it's full. We can't even launch it. We literally can't even open it. And
we're going to have to handpick investors now, and people are going to be disappointed.
So more importantly than getting on the investor list is respond, right? Like there's still people texting me that say, hey man, do you have more information? I'd love to get involved. If somebody texted me right now and wanted to get involved at $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $25,000, I would probably try really hard to get them in, you know, because we want to get people in. That's why we do this, right? So sign up for the investor list, respond, ask questions, and learn something.
Where do they do that?
The CriterionFund.com. It's in the top right corner.
PrecisionEquity.com.
Boom.
That's those two. All right, guys. Till next week. Thanks for joining us. Hit the like button.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later.